Hey everybody, this is Pastor Shaun Blakeney, and welcome to the Pastor's Playbook. This is your go-to resource for leading with faith and focus. Each week we're going to uncover practical strategies, biblical insights, and inspiring stories to help pastors and ministry leaders stay on course, build stronger teams, and make a lasting impact for the kingdom of God. Whether you're in the huddle or on the front lines, this is your playbook for effective, faith-filled leadership. Now let's jump in and open up today's playbook. Well, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Pastor's Playbook. I hope you're loving this podcast. Like, subscribe, share it with a friend, comment. Let me know how you're enjoying the podcast. This is something I've never done. We've done some podcasts in regards to Austin and I, Teresa and I, talking through and processing through sermons we've talked about, but never just unpacking some leadership nuggets. And in my 30 plus years of ministry, I feel like there's some things that I've done well, things I've not done well, things I've learned from, things I've been coached in. And I want to be able to be that coach for you as well. So we're so glad you're with us today. Make sure you're sending a comment to us. We would love to hear how you're loving the podcast. But what I want to talk about today in the Pastor's Playbook is the clarity gap. The clarity gap. Creating expectations that empower your team. Creating expectations that empower your team. What brought this to my mind is several months ago, I had dinner with a leadership guru. And the guy is all things leadership. And he was asking me questions about my staff and about our leadership. And I was processing. And he said, now, you shared with this one individual that, they didn't do what you asked them to do, whatever. And I said, yeah, it was kind of frustrating. He said, now, were there clear expectations in what you wanted that staff member to do? I said, well, I think so. He said, what do you mean you think so? I said, well, I think there were clear expectations. He goes, well, you know what? If you think, then that means there weren't. And he said, I'm telling you right now, I couldn't follow a leader that didn't give clear expectations. I would have left your team by now. And I was like, holy cow, did you rock my world? But it made me start thinking, am I sharing the expectations that my team need to hear? Am I giving them expectations of what needs to be done, or am I assuming that maybe they just know what needs to be done? I did a staff meeting after that dinner that I had with that leader. I did a staff meeting with all of our staff members, letting them know, like, these are the expectations that we have for you as a staff here at Anchor Church. And if you can't meet those expectations, then maybe this isn't the place for you. I just felt like, man, there's no more assuming on what needs to be done. We got to give clear expectations about what needs to be done. So today we're taking culture that you've created and we're putting it into execution. Are you creating clarity in the expectations that your team needs to hear? See, I think a lot of leaders say, why didn't they do that? But a better leadership question is, did I clearly define what that was? And I think that this is where a lot of us as leaders get in trouble, is we expect something of our team that's an assumption, not an expectation. Like, one of the biggest frustrations in leadership comes from unspoken expectations. I noticed in ministry, over my 30 plus years in ministry, when I started having a staff work for me, I would get frustrated in so many situations with staff members because they clearly didn't execute what I expected of them. And then I thought to myself, but did I clearly communicate that expectation? If I didn't communicate that expectation, then it's not their fault, it's my fault. It wasn't their fault, it was my fault. Now you gotta hold people accountable to something you never communicated. There are probably things in your life that you thought you communicated, but you didn't, and it's not their fault, it's your fault, right? Clarity is the bridge between vision and execution. So today, let's unpack expectations. Every team has them, every organization has them, every church has them. The question is, are they clear? You have expectations, but are they clear to your team? Because one of the biggest mistakes leaders make is expecting people to know things they were never told. And I think the case goes for our teams. If you were to ask your team, do you have clear expectations? You as the leader might say, absolutely I do. But does your team stack hands with that? Do they go, yeah, I knew exactly what was expected of me? Because if they don't, they need to. We assume people know what we mean. We assume people see what we see. We assume people understand the standard. And then we get frustrated when they don't meet the expectations that were never clearly communicated. You can't blame the team for your lack of direction. You can't blame the team for you and I not sharing clear expectations. But here's the leadership truth. You can't be frustrated by something you fail to define. You can't be frustrated with something you failed to define. A team can't hit a target they can't see. A person can't meet an expectation they don't understand. Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Vision without clarity creates confusion, and confusion eventually creates frustration. So let's dial it in here. Let's get some ideas. I got some 5 principles here on ways to be able to clearly communicate expectations to your team, because healthy expectations don't limit people. They actually create freedom, right? Here is expectation number 1 when it comes to sharing these expectations with your team. Number 1, assumed expectations create unnecessary frustration. Assumed expectations create unnecessary frustration. Proverbs 18:2 in the Old Testament says, a fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion, right? Leadership insight. Maybe leadership problems are not attitude problems. Maybe they're clarity problems. Maybe you've got some problems in your team. You go, this person has an attitude problem. They need an attitude adjustment. No, what they need is more clarity from you, because you're getting frustrated at them because they didn't do what you assumed they would do. So clearly communicate it. The leader's thought is this: well, they should know. And a team thought is, well, nobody told me. Nobody told me, right? And the gap creates tension in that. Most frustration is born in the space between assumption and communication. That's where most of the tension is built, in between assumption and communication. We're assuming they know, but we never communicated to them what they need to know. Here's the expectation, and there's a gap in the middle that causes tension. And unspoken expectations are future disappointments. You can't hold someone accountable to a conversation you never had. I was thinking about this. Whenever we play a new game or play cards, or we have friends over and play cards, and we play a new card game, we always ask to play a practice round. The reason why I want to play a practice round is I don't want to just jump in without the rules being explained to me. Because if I don't know the rules, it's going to be really, really hard to play the game. And I can play with my own set of rules, but that doesn't mean those are the set of the rules for the game. And so I'm always saying, clearly communicate to me the rules of the game, so I'm not messing up the rules. I'm not cheating. I'm not doing the wrong thing. Same thing happens in your life in ministry, in your life in leadership. You got to give clear expectations so your team know the rules of the game, right? The player says, I didn't know what to expect. And the coach says, well, what do you mean? I share with you. No, you didn't share with me, right? We got to be clear in that. The problem wasn't effort. The problem wasn't instruction. Leadership works the exact same way. So here's a practical application for you. Before expecting something, ask yourself, have I clearly communicated to my team what the expectation is? And if you haven't, then think about it. Go back and do it. Give your team the expectation so they know clearly how to live out what they're supposed to do. Here's the second principle. Great leaders define what great looks like. Great leaders define what great looks like. Habakkuk 2:2. Write the vision. Make it plain. The leadership insight here is people need more than a goal. They need a picture. So share the picture of the goal. This guy that I had dinner with, this leadership guru, he was in ministry. And his organization did an event. And he was sharing with the team that this event needs to be grandiose, needs to be big, needs to be bold. And the team said, well, we need to have expectations in how big you want this to be. And he said, my exact words were, in relation to the second coming of Christ, it needs to be the second biggest thing on the planet. I thought, well, that's pretty extreme, but at least he gave them an expectation that this has to be big. So if you're thinking big looks like this, make sure that you're clearly communicating what big actually looks like. A great leader defines what success looks like, what excellence looks like, what ownership looks like, what communication looks like. You've got to give that clear picture to your team to bring clarity in the expectations. People don't rise to vague expectations, right? They rise to clear standards. If it's vague, they won't know what to do. You got to give them clear standards, clear expectations. If you don't define excellence, everyone creates their own version of excellence. So define what excellence looks like. Clarity turns opinions into standards. Let me give you an idea. When I was a kid, my mom would say, Shaun, clean your room. Well, her idea of cleaning my room and my idea of cleaning my room were two completely different perspectives. Her idea of cleaning the room is put all your clothes away, put all your toys away, make your bed, make sure that everything's dusted, make sure the floors are vacuumed. When I had the expectation of cleaning my room, it was throw everything in a closet or toss everything under my bed. So my mom clearly had to share expectations with me that when I say clean your room, this is what I mean. Oh, you don't mean just throwing it in a closet or tossing it under bed? No, I don't. I mean you need to clean your room, and here's what that looks like. So, everyone has a different picture. Well, is the trash out, right? Is the floor spotless? Is everything organized? Well, no, Mom, it's just all thrown in my closet. Well, now I have clear expectations of how to clean my room. Same assignment, different expectations. So the practical application is this: replace vague language. Instead of saying do better, say here's what better looks like. Give them that clear picture, that clear idea, that clear vision of the expectation you're wanting from them. So just don't assume they know what great looks like. Define the great for them. Here's the third principle when it comes to giving clarity through your expectations. Expectations should create confidence, not fear. Expectations should create confidence, not fear. Paul says in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 12, we're called to equip the saints for the work of ministry. Equip the saints for the work of ministry. We got to do our due diligence to give them the expectations of what they know need to happen for the needs of ministry to be met. The purpose of expectations is not control. The purpose of expectations is empowerment. I'm telling my team what to do, giving clarity with expectations of what to do so that they know what to do. Because nobody wants to live in this vague context of what's going on. They all want to know what's going on. And healthy expectations answer, what do I need to do to succeed? And unhealthy expectations create, I'm not afraid if I'm going to fall. I'm not afraid if I'm going to fail. If I know the expectations, I'm going to meet those expectations. I'm going to hit those expectations. The worst thing to do when it comes to expectations is A, not giving them, and then B, getting frustrated when someone doesn't meet them. So don't give vague assignments. Give expectations of clarity to make sure people know exactly what to do. The best leaders don't create pressure. They create preparation. I've been telling our team, it's summertime right now. Do your due diligence this summer to make a plan for the fall. Start preparing for the fall. I've given them expectations to plan for the fall. Why? Because we are already in July. And if we get to September and you haven't planned out the fall, it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. And so these next couple months, begin preparing for the fall. I have an expectation of you on team to prepare for the fall. So when fall hits, it doesn't hit you upside the head. You're prepared for it. Expectations without encouragement feel like pressure. Expectations with support create growth. People don't fear clarity. They fear confusion. You feel that so much on the team. What I've realized on the team so many times is people don't get upset when I share with them clear communication. They get more upset when I don't, and I just get frustrated at them that I assume they knew what was up. Think about a flight. If you ever get on a flight, you are not nervous about the pilot. You know why? Because the pilot has a plan. The pilot has direction. The pilot has experience. And I'm not nervous because I know the pilot's in control and the pilot knows exactly where he's going. Passengers aren't stressed out because the pilot, hey, everybody, don't know where we're going. And this is my first day on the job. I just came right out of middle school. And you're like, no, you trust that the guy has the experience and the plan and the process, right? Nobody says, well, I wish this pilot was less organized. No one says that. You are grateful for the fact that he has a plan, he has a purpose, he's got the wisdom, he's got the maturity, he's got the experience. You love that. So as a leader, if you've got that wisdom, experience, share that clearly with your team. Why? Because it creates peace in them. It doesn't create fear or anxiety. It helps bring encouragement, peace, and growth. Clarity creates confidence. Practical application. When giving expectations, here's what you should include. Here's what I need. Here's what matters. Here's how I can help, right? Give those clear expectations to your team because you've got to define great, and it's going to bring encouragement to their lives, not more pressure. Principle number 4, when it comes to creating clarity in your expectations, remember that accountability without clarity is unfair. Accountability without clarity is unfair. Luke chapter 12, verse 48, to whom much is given, much will be required. Accountability is biblical. You got to get, I know people hate accountability, but accountability is biblical. Accountability requires an agreement, and you can't evaluate someone based on standards they never received. You got to give them clear direction. You've got to give them clear insight. You got to give them accountability because they're not going to grow if there's no accountability. And accountability works best when expectations are clear from the beginning. You can have a meeting with a team member, say, hey, here's what I expect from you. And I'm going to double check and check back up with you in a couple of days to see how you're doing. Accountability is not punishment. It's alignment. It really is. You can't measure someone with a ruler you never gave them. So give that accountability, right? A referee can't call a foul in a game if you as the player don't know what the foul is. If you don't know the rules, then how are you going to, I mean, if you think about sports, basketball or football, the rules are always changing and the referees always have to be up on the rules. The coaches always have to be up on the rules. Why? Because that's where the accountability comes into play. If you know the rules, then you got to abide by the rules. And the rules must come before the review. Leadership works the exact same way. So before correcting someone, ask yourself, did we clearly define the expectation? If you did, then coach them. If you didn't, then clarify for them, all right? It's either coach or clarity. Give them the accountability that they need with the expectations that they know they can meet. Principle number 5, repeat expectations until they become culture. Repeat expectations until they become culture. Deuteronomy chapter 6, Moses says what? Repeat them day and night. Repeat them over and over and over again. Repeat the things of God. Why? Because the repetition helps people remember the clarity of what you need to know. I'm giving you an expectation. Read, read, read. Memorize, memorize, memorize. Review, review, review. Why? So that it gets stuck in your mind, gets stuck in your heart, gets stuck in your soul. Leaders often communicate something once and assume everybody remembers. Doesn't work like that. My goal is to throw it out there and make sure you got that. If people aren't taking notes, it's in one ear and out the other. But what is obvious to the leader may be brand new to the team. Repetition creates enforcement. Repetition creates reinforcement. It lets the team know this is not something we're just flying by the seat of our pants on. This is something we're going to stick with. I got to clarify. I got to be repetitious in it. Why? Because repetition creates reinforcement. What leaders repeat become what teams remember. There's been times that I say things over and over and over again. The team's like, we've heard this. I'm like, well, then do it. Vision leaks. Expectations fade, which is why leaders have to reinforce. Repetition is not redundancy. It's leadership. As a leader, you're going to have to repeat yourself over and over and over again. Think about a team. Think about a quarterback for a football team. He is reviewing a playbook all the time. Why? He's getting so ingrained in his mind the visual playbook so that when he gets out on the court, when he gets out on the field, it's already there. A golfer, he swings 24/7 all the time. He's always swinging. Why? So that he has muscle memory. It's repetition. So he's not thinking about what he has to do. It's just repetition of what he knows he has to do. Right? Culture is simply expectations repeated until they become habits. So keep repeating that to your team. Create rhythms. Staff meetings are a rhythm. Team huddles are a rhythm. One-on-ones are a rhythm. Onboarding is a rhythm. Reviews are a rhythm. Keep giving those rhythms so that people know the expectations of what they need to do. Keep bringing people back to the standard. At the end of the day, leadership's not just about having great people. It's about helping great people succeed. Sometimes the reason people struggle isn't because they don't care, it's because they didn't know. And I think your team is not supposed to read your mind. We want them to, but our team's not supposed to read our mind. Your volunteers are not supposed to guess your expectations. Your staff is not supposed to figure out your standards through frustration. Great leaders create clarity. They define the when. They explain the when. They communicate the how. They reinforce the what. And when expectations are clear, guess what? People don't feel controlled. They feel confident. So here's my challenge for you this week. Take your team's biggest frustration and ask, have we clearly communicated the expectation? Okay, no, then are you going to do it? The answer is yes, you have to do it. All right, have we clearly shown them what they need to do? We've not just told them what to do, we've modeled for them what to do. We have expressed to them what great looks like, right? This is what it means to clearly give the right expectations. You're not assuming your team's going to live it out. You're expecting them to live it out because you've shared the expectations with them. Remember, people don't fail because they lack potential. Sometimes they fail because nobody gave them the blueprint. I can't even talk. Let me say it again. Here we go. People don't fail because they lack potential. They fail because someone didn't give them the blueprint. So make sure you're giving your team the blueprint. Make sure you're sharing with them expectations so they can meet the needs of your staff, meet the needs of your church, meet the needs of your business as every leader wants those needs met. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.